Yes, I am absolutely lost for words. You can't believe it. I'm down here on a cardboard oil rig outside the South Bank as part of the Creative Coalition Festival. Basically, in a nutshell, we are down here sending out an SOS to stop this creativity crisis that we really worry is engulfing this country. And I cannot believe that I've just been shortlisted to the last 3 in the Arts Council England's Digital Culture Network Awards as a digital ambassador. Unbelievable. So pleased. Now, believe it or not, I flew down here yesterday in our Starship. You can see it over there. Let me just cut. Have you got that film? Yeah, we'll cut to the film and show you how we actually got here. So that's how we got here yesterday. Absolutely fantastic. The Culture Minister did a great speech the other night, Lucy Frazer, talking about the importance of art and creativity to the country and to our communities and to all those different government departments. Yes, we're down here sending out an SOS because we genuinely believe, and have for many years now, that there's a creativity crisis brewing in this country. Now, to quote a famous government minister from several years ago, Lord Heseltine, who said, if you want an industrial strategy for this country, you need to start in primary schools. But as Jeff Barton, the head of the Association of School and College Leaders, the leader of all the head teachers in private and state schools, said 9 out of 10 schools have reported cutting one or more art subject. And that was at an event that we ran in King's Cross 4 or 5 years ago with sponsorship from Google and The Guardian and the Times Education Supplement and Barclays. But this was brought up to date recently with a statement from the former Culture Minister and now the Minister of Science, Innovation and Technology, Michelle Donnellan, who spoke at the Treasury briefing just the other week at Bloomberg and said that tech skills vacancies in the UK are currently costing GDP £150 billion. And we think this is pretty serious, and that's what we're campaigning for, to save our subjects. But what I'd like to do now, if you don't mind, is actually just cut to a film that I made as part of the submission for this award, because it's not about me, it's about our communities, it's about our country, it's about all our creativity, and that's why I entered this award. And what I'd actually like to do now, if you don't mind, is just jump to the little film that I produced for the entry and forgot to upload. So nobody's actually seen this film before. So let's see if we can cut to that now and give you an exclusive preview of this film. Hello, I'm Nick Horston from Steamco. The Guardian and Wired magazine have called me a man on a mission for my work to champion, to inspire and to ignite creativity in school communities all across the UK. A few years ago, Sir Ken Robinson even nominated me for a TED Fellowship for my work. I was delighted in 2022 to be included in the prestigious EdTech 50 list of innovative individuals and organisations using technology in educational settings here in the UK. But my work goes way beyond schools, reflected by my inclusion in the BBC's list of 100 Londoners for my work in communities across the UK, from Land's End to Liverpool, from Cardiff to Carlisle, from Belfast to Birmingham. Indeed, David Grant MBE has called me the king of lockdown on his BBC show. Creative communities start in schools, but as I believe that people's views of creativity, children and education only really become paramount when they have kids, the challenge has to be to take the conversation about creativity out of school communities and beyond. Indeed, as something of a digital pioneer, I actually ran an agency that did the first work on CD-ROMs back in the late 80s, early 90s, and then actually developed the first website for Microsoft Network from the Edinburgh Festival in 1995. Digital has been a big part of my first life, seeing me work in some of the world's biggest digital agencies, marketing, events, research, and CRM companies. Apart from its day-to-day use for social media and admin, my Blue Peter-esque digital inclinations were once again aroused with the onset of lockdown in my second life. With emergency funding from Arts Council England and the Educational Charitable Trust LGFL, I established a small green screen live streaming studio in a spare bedroom at home within the first few weeks of lockdown. So let's have a specific look at what I got up to in 2022. While everything we do at STEAMCO is grounded in creativity, we look for ways to engage our audiences, and rockets have been a keen part of that. A large part of our work this year was around our Mission to Mars 22 tour, which visited schools across the country. With schools still in varying degrees of lockdown, I built a green screen studio in the school hall and live streamed to cast bubbles across the school and family homes as if on a cardboard Mars base camp, right in the middle of their school playground with a 150-foot high cardboard starship on the side. Children in the school hall could see me doing this live, while others could contribute via video cam, and parents at home could add messages which were displayed on screen, all starting to rebuild bridges between community homes and schools. I used this technology when I visited Van Gogh School in Brixton as part of a promotion for the Brockwell Banks Community Festival, which we were part of in Brockwell Park during half term. At the start of our Ignite 22 year, I rented a motorhome and travelled to John O'Groats to launch the Our Million 22 appeal to raise £1 million to inspire 1 million kids with creativity by scaling STEAMCO. I only managed to raise enough to purchase our own motorhome, nicknamed Starship 22, into which we fitted a green screen live streaming studio, a Starlink internet satellite dish, and hit the road. We visited 8 festivals over the summer, setting Starship up backstage at many of them, live streaming content from the festival as well as ad hoc performances from local artists. At the Little Orchard Festival in Cornwall, we were pleased to collaborate with the Polyphony Music Instrument Lending Library, CIC, from Bodmin, and several of their young people performed on our set backstage. We performed a global first at the end of the year in collaboration with Local Global Festival in Hackney, where we helped them live stream a Desi Rap cypher battle between rappers dialing in from India and Pakistan, vision mixing them together on stage here in London. The Co in STEAMCO stands for collaboration. We are STEAM Collaboration CIC and always keen to collaborate with other organisations where possible. We're also keen to share our knowledge of our digital platforms and live streaming capabilities, and increasingly being asked to help live stream conferences such as the Rethink Education Conference, which was held at the Ashbury Lansbury School in New Cross, and whose students operated the cameras and used the vision mixing equipment. We continued this work into our Let's Create Christmas 22 tour, where we live streamed Christmas carols, nativities and rock concerts from school communities in Yorkshire, Herefordshire and the Welsh Valleys. School community leaders commented on how fantastic it was to be able to broaden their audience, this being the first year they'd been able to invite the public into these events, but unable to accommodate the massive volumes of audiences who were interested in coming along. During the days, we ran cardboard workshops and pop-ups in community centres, local shopping malls and even at Sunday markets. Winning this award would be really important for me as the face of STEAMCO, because I believe it would help us fundraise to scale STEAMCO, to put up to 22 of our pop-up Creativity Day drop trucks and Steamsters like me on the road, who would go into communities to champion, inspire and ignite creativity in our schools, work and lives. And that's what this is all about. This is about the way that art connects us. I love art so much I got the t-shirt. Seth Godin gave me a lovely phrase. He said that art is what we call it when what we do connects us to someone else. As well as being shortlisted for this Arts Council Award, I'm absolutely delighted to say that a month ago we were shortlisted for the Charity Film Awards. That's a project run by the Smiley Movement, a whole range of categories. And this film was inspired by a conversation I had with a young lad. I'm not going to tell you what he said, I'm actually just going to show you his film.
So you inspired me because all these things you're doing just makes people just want to do it.
What do you want to do?
Well, to be honest, I've I really want to be a dancer because I've been dancing ever since I was 6 months.
I met Teo at a school recently in Tilbury on the Trailblazer project, which is funded with Arts Council and lottery funding by the Royal Opera House. And Teo's just like so many children across the country who have a dream. He reminded me of that TED talk by Sir Ken Robinson that changed my life. And if you haven't seen it, stop this video right now and go and watch it.
He turned to her mother and he said, you know, Mrs. Lynn, Gillian isn't sick, she's a dancer. Take her to a dance school.
In the film, Sir Ken talks about Gillian Lynn, one of the world's most famous dancers, choreographers who made millions from Cats and Phantom of the Opera with Andrew Lloyd Webber. And 12 years ago, I started STEAMco, a non-profit community enterprise, to inspire children with creativity and to connect communities with their schools, because I believe the talent to do this is latent in communities across the country. Back in January, I launched an appeal in John O'Groats in Scotland to raise £1 million to inspire 1 million kids by putting up to 22 of our little pop-up day art trucks on the road across the country with Steamsters, people like me, creative carers who care about creativity, about children and all our futures. In March, my mother was taken very ill and we got her home from hospital on the Saturday and she'd been given a prognosis of 3 months to live. The district nurse came in to see her and said, Mrs. Causton, I know you. I've got your photo with my 2 daughters on the fridge from 20, 30 years ago when you used to run an arts and crafts summer play scheme with your husband. On the Sunday, a carer came in, Siobhan, who said, Mrs. Causton, do you remember me? She held my mother's hand and she said, you taught me sewing on that summer play scheme. And I realised then that the work that I do with people and communities across the country with STEAMco was part of my mother's legacy. And I went into a local school in Shropshire on the Monday with the support of BBC Radio Shropshire and launched the appeal in Shropshire to get one of these trucks on the road in my home county. I showed Mum the film that night, we listened to the radio interview, and I told Mum about my dream to raise that money. And sadly she passed away the next day. I was blown away when somebody offered a match funding pledge, £50,000, if I could raise £50,000, and we did. And at the start of summer, we bought this camper van, the Starship 22, which we travel all over the country with. We went to fetes and festivals doing pop-up events, like we did this summer here in this fantastic grass amphitheatre here in the Cotswolds. And we've got a green screen studio in the back from which we can live stream events. This year, the government had £120 million for a national festival of creativity. And part of that, they put an oil rig on the beach in Weston-super-Mare and called it Sea Monster. It was absolutely fantastic. We got a grant to take community trips from Coventry to Cardiff, from Notting Hill to Newport. And everybody fell in love with Sea Monster and asked us to start a petition to save it. And we're in the middle of doing that as I speak. We see Sea Monster as a beacon for the creativity revolution our children, our communities and our country so desperately still needs even after the Unbox Festival. But what chance getting the funding to do that? Well, I always think of something that somebody said at one of our conference events.
Churchill said an interesting thing in the Second World War. Churchill gathered the cabinet around him during the war. He said, do we need to raise more funds for tanks and planes and ammunition? And one of the ministers turned to him and said, we could cut the arts grant. And there was a pause, a moment's silence, and Churchill turned to him and he said, well, what's it all for then?
And if you need convincing about the importance of the arts and what the arts have done for us and could do for children like Teo, our communities and our country, be sure to get a copy of this essay that Michael Rosen wrote recently about what the arts have done for us and could still do. So my appeal to you today is, can you spare £1? Can you match fund £50,000 to help us launch this creativity revolution? I like to think, and I say, that we're helping children aim not just high, but higher than high, higher than my hive is. But little Teo, he had a lovely way of describing his ambition, his dream, and where he wants to go in life.
It's just there's some people in my mind that just made me, I don't know, aspirational?
Well, we didn't do any dancing today, so why did you think it was good today?
It's because there's always this feeling whenever you watch someone do something, you just feel like that's your new passion. And you want to continue that road, because there's always a road not awesome, and the road awesome. And I really want to take the road awesome, not awesome. And obviously I know everybody wants to be awesome, not awesome.
So yes, a very, very powerful moment for me. Absolutely fantastic to be there with Teo and to meet him. And we're going to be going to the Odeon, Leicester Square, for the awards ceremony in a few weeks, hopefully with Teo and his mother, and hopefully somebody from the fantastic schools down there in Tilbury, the Gateway Learning Community, who we're delighted to work with on the Royal Opera House Trailblazer project, funded by Arts Council England with support from the National Lottery. Just fantastic, and such an honour to work with people like this, children like this, communities like this. As you saw there, you understand hopefully now why I am here on a cardboard model of Sea Monster. This is our Sea Monster because we saved Sea Monster. That film was made slightly before actually we went to Parliament and presented the petition and on the side and projected it onto the sides of Parliament. And very, very grateful to a very special person, Benji here, who I met travelling around the UK on the trips. The Unbox 2022 Youth and Community Fund gave us some grant funding to take trips to, as you saw, to Sea Monster. And Benji came on one of those trips from Coventry. And Benji told me how he'd lost his mother a few years prior, and how he'd really wanted to take his mother to see Sea Monster at Weston-super-Mare, or to go to Weston-super-Mare. In fact, I lost my mother last year, as you saw there, and we really connected. And Benji's travelled with me on a number of trips now. We went to Liverpool to launch the Save Our Subjects campaign. We went to a school in Northampton to kick off our Rocket Kids 23 UK tour, as well as Weston-super-Mare, and travelling up to London to present that petition. And Benji is a cultural ambassador for Coventry, part of the City of Culture project, introduced to me by Shanine Bathina and her team. Sits on the Warwick Arts Committee, is an art activist herself, an artist herself. And tonight Benji is performing with the Birmingham Opera, and I'm delighted to say I managed to get a ticket and I'm off to that tonight. That's what this is about. That's how art connects. In Benji, I really do feel I've got a real ally, a real friend, a supporter, an advocate, a fellow activist. Benji, non-binary, sitting on the Coventry Pride board up there in Coventry as vice chair. So proud to connect with, to meet and to make friends like Benji. So made this film a few weeks ago actually. I'm afraid I ripped off a song, but sometimes you've got to seek forgiveness and not permission at moments like this. So Benji, this one's for you and everybody else who stood by me these last few years. Thank you so much.
To the Hollies, and in you go, take two.